been about 6 months since the last mech tier list, and 4 new mechs have been added since then, so let's just get started. First up is Aegis, and Aegis I'm gonna put in A. It's above average, you know, if B is the average tier, then Aegis is above average for sure. Super early, honestly, it might be S, but we're not just talking early game, we're talking like just overall, including like long-term performances. Aegis overall is just like really solid. It's got decent speed, good HP, and then the dome shield on top of that is just super strong. And you can really just like lock down any position with that, so that's really useful. But I don't see it in like competitive matches anymore. I used to, but I don't anymore, so it's not quite S, but I will put it in A. Arachnos is pretty easy F tier. I'm not sure of many people who, even early game, when they get it for free, like how many people actually use that thing? It's so useless. The turret does nothing. The mech itself is so slow. The HP isn't even good. The only thing it has going for it is the energy capacity, but there's many other mechs with 32 maximum energy capacity, so that's also not particularly helpful. Next up is Ares. Ares I'm going to put in C. Yes, I know some people are going to be angry about that. But, I mean, let it be known that very few rare mechs are making it into the B tier, because there's just a lot of epics, and there's even more legendaries, so realistically, like, there's a lot of other things to compete with, but even still, you know, the shield ability is really good. It's nice for protecting yourself and for allies, but the shield HP is not very high, and the mech itself is not particularly fast, so it's just kind of half decent. Up until the point where your enemy's DPS starts scaling past your energy shield, which does not take very long. Next up is Bastion. I am going to put Bastion in A tier. Honestly, I see more Aegis than I do Bastion, but I think that's more of like an accessibility thing. It is a legendary mech, obviously, and it costs a lot. But the thing with Bastion is that, yes, the shield is super weak and it's going to go down really quickly, but as soon as it goes down, it EMPs everybody in like a 30-meter radius, and that's really strong. The Bastion, just in general, does actually counter quite a lot of things. I feel like people just don't really use it right. But that one's more of just an opinion on my part, so I don't know. Blockhorn, next up. I'm tempted to put it in A because like I don't see a lot of people use it competitively, but I do see a few people use it competitively. And it is very strong. The HP is really high, the energy capacity is really high. It has an ability shield. It'll block the mechs physically, but it'll also block any effects like EMP. And that's super helpful. But that shield also gives you a damage boost of 30%. And it's just ridiculous. The amount of things that this has going for it is absolutely crazy. And yet it's still not a thing that many people use, and honestly it's just because the fact that it's slow. Like, it's really difficult for a slow mech to be meta. Speaking of slow, next up is Brickhouse. And Brickhouse is, I'm gonna call it C for Chungus. Better than Ares, but below average. Its ability sounds really nice, and like the mech on paper honestly seems fine. It has a 50% damage boost to itself and then a 100% damage boost to all of the allies in a short radius. Doubling the DPS of allies that are close by sounds crazy, and that on top of the fact that the mech itself has tank HP. So you'd think that that would be really good, but honestly it's just kind of not. I think damage boosting just in general is not super useful, and a lot of that does have to do with like multi-layered mod shields. You could do a lot of damage to one layer and you still only take it down one layer, right? So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really reduce the time it takes to kill things by very much. But on top of that, the mech is super slow. So yeah, for all those reasons, Brickhouse is not ideal. Next up is Cheetah. Also C, better than Ares, but probably worse than Brickhouse. Cheetah, fun fact, has the highest ability DPS out of any mech in the entire game, and yet it's still so bad. I think it's mostly just the fact that the ability itself is super impractical. You can lay down landmines up to 3, but when you place them down, you can only place them down right in front of you. So you just by default have to put yourself in a really bad position just to be able to put your landmines in a good position. I mean, outside of like putting it on top of a beacon in control point clash mode, some random enemy's gonna try to come up and grab it. It's like it might not even happen. You're wasting an entire mech just for the possibility of potentially dealing some half-decent damage to a mech that's trying to grab a beacon. It's just not practical, I think. Up next is Deathwalker. This is the first, like, hard S. This thing is ridiculous. You're not gonna die. Well, you are gonna die, but not permanently. The ability is essentially just a thing that allows you to keep resurrecting yourself over and over and over and over again. And the fact that on top of having 32 maximum energy, which is the highest energy capacity in the game, you also get a speed boost while the ability is active. The ability is active for a really long time. If you die while the ability is active, you get sent back to wherever you first activated it, which is probably a safe location. And on top of that, you also regenerate part of any HP that you lost. So it's just so easy. Anyway, next up is Dreadnought. I have like some notes showing where I plan on putting everything. I was going to put it at the top of A, but I'm putting it in S for all of the people who are going to complain about how OP it is and how I totally didn't do it justice by putting it in A. You know what? It was basically an honorary meta mech anyway. Not a lot of people use it in like top-end competitive matches, but some people do, so I'll put it in S. The ability itself is in general super strong, but it's mostly strong when you're in lower SP matches because you don't have to deal with as many mods. Mods really kill the effectiveness of Dreadnought because the ability essentially fires out a bunch of rockets that deal a little bit of damage, but it also stuns the enemy for 2 seconds. If you happen to kill someone with the ability, then your ability gets instantly reset, you get your ability back, and you get a speed boost for a little bit. So you can just go on an absolute killing spree with just the ability, so long as the enemies don't have mods. But as soon as they do, then it's like, you know, it's kind of helpful, it stuns them for a little bit, and it's nice, but ultimately, like, it doesn't help that much. Up next is Eclipse, yet another S tier mech, top of the bunch. It doesn't get much better than this. It's just like whatever you could throw at it, Eclipse is just gonna say no thank you, I'm good, thanks mom, I'm full. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can't lock onto it because it has stealth, it's impervious to effects while the ability is active, so you can't stun it with something like a Dreadnought. And it also gets a speed boost. The HP is not great, the energy capacity is mid, but like again, those don't really matter. Because at the end of the day, so long as you can stack on enough multi-layer mod shields, you basically survive just as long as anything else. Except, you know, as an Eclipse, you're basically unstoppable, and everything else that usually relies on its ability really just can't. Next on the list is Gatecrasher. Gatecrasher is the perfect example of a straight average mech. It doesn't do anything particularly well, but it is also not particularly bad at anything. The ability in general is just fires out a little projectile that explodes on enemies. The way that you're kind of supposed to use it is that you're supposed to fire it at walls and then it punches through the wall and hits enemies on the other side of the wall, but it's so difficult to use it, and honestly the damage from doing that is not even really worth it. You can bypass mod shields just by hitting a mech directly with the thing as opposed to trying to go through a wall with it, so yeah, theoretical value, but like, it's really not gonna happen probably. Up next is Guardian. Guardian, some people are gonna be mad, is a C tier mech, worse than Brickhouse. It's not that bad, but I feel like some of you guys are glazing it a little too hard. You can talk to me all day about how theoretically you could do XYZ with the Guardian, but it's like, do you actually do it? No, I don't think so. And I think the reason is because people underestimate the number of their opponents that just walk around with nothing but revokers. Guardian's system crash, all it does is force enemy mech abilities into cooldown and forces their weapons to reload. Revoker doesn't have a reload time, so it'll just beat the crap out of you, regardless. And Guardian doesn't have much HP, The ability range is not very good, and it's also hella slow, so you are not escaping anybody. I think people misunderstand me when I'm saying that something's like not very good. It's not that I can't get MVPs with it. I can get MVPs as much as I want. It's not a matter of whether or not I can do it. I can get an MVP with any one of these things easily. It's not a matter of whether or not I can do it, it's just a matter of how practical or how often you could realistically expect to get good performances with it. Next up is Hemlock. Hemlock is disgusting. This goes in S, below Deathwalker, but above Blockhorn and Dreadnought. Hemlock essentially just forces you to quit the match, like, in the right circumstances, especially in, like, 2v2. If you play 2v2, then Hemlock is actually your worst nightmare. Because it applies this thing that's essentially like EMP that stuns you for a bit, except as soon as you take damage, then it'll remove the stun after, like, 2 seconds. And that sounds not too bad, but that's basically a guaranteed 2 seconds of free damage that they get, regardless of what they want to do. But also, you can very easily put implants on a Hemlock that would allow it to just infinitely keep you in one place for the entire match. If there's a battle and it's just you versus one Hemlock, and they have the right implants, it's GG. You're going to be stuck there for the rest of the match. Next up is Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a pretty easy F tier. It's slow, the HP is not good. I mean, it is a tank, and the HP is good for an uncommon mech, but, you know, it's in tier 2, and you move past tier 2 on to better stuff really, really quickly, so there's kind of no reason to, like, use it or upgrade it or anything. And the ability also is just not very good. The shield is kind of nice. It activates like a skin-tight shield, whereas like Ares, it has frontal shield. Aegis has like a dome. You could get an enemy could get inside the dome and shoot you. Bastion has like a ring around itself. You could shoot it from the top and it would take damage. Juggernaut has full protection, but the shield is pretty weak, and also it has a really, really long cooldown time. So it's just kind of, whatever. Killshot up next. Put a B below Gatecrasher. It's okay. I mean, the dash is obviously useful. It's the fastest mech in the game, but it's super weak in terms of HP, so it's like if you're trying to use it as an assassin or ambush type thing, it doesn't really last you very long. So a lot of people end up just using it with guided type weapons, and then they just use the speed just to be like a little creeper in the back, make it really hard for you to like actually catch them. But at the end of the day, it's like not super useful, right? You're not making full use of that speed. But it's also like, it's not the worst. Lacewing up next is another S tier. Again below Deathwalker, but I'm gonna put it above Hemlock. Lacewing is the most broken mech, better than everything else on certain maps. Certain maps have places that Lacewing can jump up to. It has 2 jump charges, and it can just really, really easily get up to certain places on top of buildings and whatever that other things just can't reach. And it makes it so difficult to do anything. And just on certain maps, that alone is super, super broken. But I put it below Deathwalker simply because it is very, very map dependent. Like, there's some maps that just, it doesn't really work well on. Lancer, similar to Lacewing, actually has very similar ability. It just has 1 jump, and it can't control itself in the air. That's about it. And for that reason, I'm going to put it in B. The HP is pretty bad, and the energy capacity is also pretty bad. It's the worst energy capacity you can get. So it has very little firepower compared to Lacewing, and that's why it's a bit lower. But even still, like, for a common mech, being B tier is really, really solid. MD, bottom of F tier. It has like a healing field thing. It'll heal itself and it'll heal allies that are close by. It doesn't heal very fast, it doesn't heal very much, and if you're taking damage while you're healing, then it suppresses your healing, so like it stops the healing effect if someone starts dealing damage to you. It also has really low energy capacity, same as Lancer, and the speed is just kind of meh. Mimicker. Mimicker I'm gonna put in A, above both of these. It requires a certain type of weapon, but it's pretty good, honestly. It's got good speed, it's got, you know, high energy capacity, And the ability is essentially just that you can scan enemies, and depending on their like mech class, you can get like either a shield for tanks or some small HP regen for supports. Quite a lot of damage potential, quite a lot of mobility potential. It's more of a damage-based mobility type thing, so it does particularly well in those cases. Next up is Nomad. Nomad is another S-tier mech. I mean, nobody saw that coming, right? I'm gonna put it here, below Lacewing, but above Hemlock. It's essentially like a super fast tank because it has a dash similar to Killshot, but during the dash, for 3 seconds after you activate the ability, it has 60% damage resistance, which means that you're only taking 40% of the damage that people are shooting at you. And you could technically do that twice, because if you hit someone with the dash, then you get a second dash that you can then use to go deal damage to somebody else, or at least just get extra resistance time. Very strong, decent counter to Eclipse. Onyx, I am going to put in B, above Gatecrasher. Onyx is a bit more specialized, it's just like heavy damage output. The mech itself is pretty slow, doesn't have great HP, but it does have high firepower, like high energy capacity. So if you use it right, you can use the quad rocket to like one-shot things after you take their launch shields down or something like that. But still, like, not fantastic. Up next, Orion is A tier, above Mimicker. This is a really, really good mech. Very occasionally, not often, but sometimes I will see an Orion in a competitive match. It's super strong in the right conditions. The ability, if you can connect it, because it does require a target lock, they take a stupid amount of extra damage. They take almost 3 times the damage while that mark is active, and that's active for like 10 seconds, so basically a guaranteed they're dead. Like, there's almost no way that they survive if you end up hitting them with it. And then on top of that, you get a pretty good amount of shield piercing. You as the Orion do, your teammates don't. It's really the only mech that's actually good with sniper type weapons in later stages of the game, to be honest. Next up is Outlaw. Outlaw, I'm gonna put in A, above Orion. This is a mech that I personally use competitively, but I feel like not many people do. The ability in this case is essentially a long-range guardian, but it does require line of sight, and it does require essentially a target lock, so it can't target something that's in stealth, obviously, because, you know, why have a counter to Eclipse, right? But the one thing that it is good for, pretty much the only thing that it's good for, is for absolutely shutting down Deathwalkers, because like I said before, Deathwalker is basically unkillable. If you can get it with an Outlaw from a distance, and then all of a sudden it's very vulnerable, and so that's really, really useful specifically for countering Deathwalker, but since that's kind of the only thing that it's good for, not many people use it. I myself have been using it less lately too, to be honest. Panther. I'm gonna put Panther also A, below Orion, but above Mimicker. Very, very solid. Indestructible shield, and that alone is enough to get some really good practicality out of it. The mech itself isn't super slow, so there's that, but the HP is pretty bad. Has high firepower. It's really good as like a passive thing, and very nice as a team support type mech. Decent protection, but not really good for pushing power. And a lot of the better mechs do have some form of pushing power. Paragon, I mean F tier. Better than Juggernaut, just because of the energy capacity. The speed's not good. It has a speed boost ability, but it doesn't last for very long. Basically, the only thing it has going for it is that it's got high energy capacity. You could use, like, some type of guided passive weapon on it. But Arachnos could do the same thing, and it could have, you know, better HP while it's doing it. Parasite is one of the newer ones, and this is going to be the last of the honorable mentions in terms of meta. I don't see a lot of them, but I do see some. Similar to Outlaw, it requires line of sight, and it also requires a target lock, so once again, can't do anything against something that's in stealth. But if it's able to lock onto you, what it does is any damage that you as the Parasite take, 30% of that damage goes to who you're linked to, and you only take 10%. I don't think most people understand how much effective HP that means. You get 90% damage resistance on this thing. If you include like mod shields and stuff like that, I think you have over 7 million effective HP. which is ridiculous. It's basically GG. Like, there's no way that you kill it while the ability's active. Like, basically no way that you kill it while the ability's active. But while you're connected to somebody, they're taking damage. As soon as they die and your connection's tethered, then your ability automatically ends. Which means, yes, you might connect to somebody and you basically be like, haha, if I die, I'm taking you down with me. But that's just one guy, right? You take down one guy, and then you also immediately go down. So it's, yeah, it's good, but it's not, like, crazy good. Next up is Puma. Puma is also F tier, but I'm put it top of F tier because it's basically the same thing as Paragon and Arachnos, but it's slightly faster, and it has an ability that gives it some form of protection, which is, like, super weak protection, but it's protection against at least one shot. So that's nice. That's, you know, more than Arachnos can say. Next up is Redeemer. Redeemer I'm going to put in A, above Bastion. We're going to be basing this off of the max performance. The performance of Redeemer at max level. Essentially the ability in a nutshell. It just kind of goes back in time to where it was 10 seconds ago. It doesn't regenerate any of the HP that it lost, so it just moves from where it is back to where it was 10 seconds ago. Which in itself is not, like, particularly useful. But when you rank it up, especially at max, what you get is a lot of debuff immunities. So if somebody stuns you with an EMP type ability, then at max, you can actually use your ability and escape from that EMP. And that's really, really useful. But before max level, it's kind of like whatever. Like, it does remove some debuffs, but it's only like stasis or basic ones that don't really matter a whole lot. Redox. I'm gonna put Redox in B, above Killshot but below Lancer. Redox ability is not terrible. It's an AoE field that deals some damage over time and it slows enemies down. The cooldown's pretty short, the duration is not bad. It's overall not a bad ability. The only problem is that the mech itself does not pair well with the ability. The ability makes you think like, okay, you want something that's either fast and able to get in and slow people down with that AoE, or you want something that's tanky and able to survive against multiple enemies that are like that. And Redox is neither of those things. It's super slow and it's super fragile. It has the same HP as like the scouts. Yeah, like it just kind of doesn't pair together very well, which makes it not very practical for many situations. It's not the worst though. Next up is Salvor. Salvor I'm gonna put below Outlaw in A, above Orion. I do occasionally see people use this in like meta competitive matches, but very infrequently. One of my clanmates does, but again, it's not very often. It's basically just like a long-range healer mech. It throws a little projectile at allies, and it's decent, but it's just not particularly easy to like actually be able to reach the people who need it the most. You as a Salvor are very weak. This is the lowest HP out of any legendary mech. So yeah, I feel like people are just they're more focused on aggro, not so much on support. Next up is Scorpius. Scorpius, I'm gonna put in C. I almost feel like it's potentially worse than Brickhouse. I feel like sometimes I say that I think Scorpius is worse, sometimes I say that Brickhouse is worse. Kind of just depends on the day. They're very close is essentially what I'm trying to say. There is a way to make Scorpius really, really useful. The thing with it is that essentially it just has an ability that is a javelin rack. That's basically all it is. If you have the right positioning with it though, the cooldown's pretty short and the damage is half decent, you can absolutely spam the crap out of guided rockets and make someone's day entirely miserable, and it's so difficult to do anything about it. Seeker is a pretty easy S tier. I'm gonna put it below Hemlock. A lot of competitive people use it. Its ability is basically just that it teleports behind you. That's so freaking strong. But then when it teleports, it also gets a small shield, and it also gets a 30% damage boost. Very useful for absolutely assassinating certain enemies that are being very, very annoying. Sentinel up next. I'm gonna put C, above Guardian, below Brickhouse. Better than Ares, pretty objectively, I'd say. Like, outside of, like, the shield shape, I'd say the shield shape on Ares is slightly better than it is on Sentinel, because Ares has a bit more coverage. But outside of that, it's, like, just kind of objectively a better Ares. Not that it's good, it's just better. Shadow up next. I'm also gonna put this in C. I feel like it's probably better than Ares. It's got an okay ability. I mean, its stealth is basically the same thing as Eclipse, except minus the main thing that makes Eclipse super strong, which is the effect immunity. Shadow doesn't have that, it just has the stealth, and it's pretty weak in terms of HP, and it has really, really low firepower. It's also pretty fast, so I was like, yeah, so there's that. Slingshot, bottom of C. It is basically just a weaker Killshot. Like, that's literally what it is, just Killshot, but with worse stats. Solis up next. Another S tier. Below Seeker, I'd say. The ability is super annoying. It fires a projectile thing that blinds enemies in a radius. It's kind of obnoxious, actually, especially when bots use it. And it can be very nice for just suppressing people, because, like, you know, if you're blinded, then you kind of don't know what you're shooting at, and so you don't want to poke your head out. You don't really want to take any chances there. Good firepower, decent speed, but, you know, HP is kind of lacking, as is the case with most support mechs. Stalker, I'm gonna put in B. It's okay. The ability sounds really, really OP. It gives you a damage boost, 50%. While that damage boost is active, if you get any kills, then it'll regenerate 10% of your HP. So you could basically just keep killing people and keep regenerating your HP while you're doing it. The main problem is Stalker itself doesn't have a whole lot of HP, so you'll be out of HP in no time. It's very similar to Brickhouse in the fact that it has, you know, the 50% damage boost to itself, but it is faster, and I think that alone is enough to make it better than Brickhouse. Surge. I think everyone knows where this is going, S tier. I'm gonna put it below Eclipse. It's easily a top 2 mech, right? Everybody has it. Everybody has Surge. It's just pretty hard to beat. You have a dash, and then after the dash, you stun whoever's in a certain radius, and you also get stealth. And that alone is essentially a free kill for almost everything. Like, just stunning them for that long, it's basically no way that they live. And the ability cooldown's super short, too. Tengu up next. Solid B. Below Stalker, but above Killshot. It's pretty decent. It's one of the very few rare mechs that I can actually use on, like, my maxed account and do half decent with. And that's just because the ability is super strong. The main thing I think that makes it not that great is not even the low HP, it's the low firepower. It only has 16 maximum energy. And just having really low firepower like that really, really does you dirty. Up next is the last of the newer ones, which is Volti. Volti, I'm gonna put in B, probably top of B. It's okay. It's not a great mech. It's one of the worst ones that they've made in a long time. The ability basically just like sends a little drone out to one enemy that deals a bit of damage from the top, which does mean you can bypass like perimeter multi-layer with that ability. That's kind of nice, but the ability damage is not that good. The cooldown's like kind of long for what it is. And the ability range is also not that good. It's grown on me. I think when I first talked about it, I thought it was really bad, but it's grown a little bit on me. It still kind of feels like a rushed mech. Up next is Vortex. Vortex I'm gonna put in A, below Panther. Used to see a lot of Vortexes competitively, but that was just because it was like the tankiest mech that you could have. But nowadays that's not even close to true. But it's still pretty tanky, It will outlast a Nomad, so there is that. The ability is similar to Nomad, also gives you damage resistance. For Vortex it's 50%, but then you also get a speed boost, and that goes on for like 8 seconds. And the cooldown's kind of long, but it's not too bad. Overall, very solid mech, but it's not going to last forever. Damage resistance, you're still taking damage, so just by definition, it's not protecting you, it's just, you know, slowing down the inevitable. I feel like what makes Nomad so strong is the fact that it has a dash and it can cover a lot of ground really quickly. If Vortex could do that, then it would be super OP. It does have a speed boost and it can move fast, but not that fast. And the last one, Zephyr, I'm gonna put probably above Redox, below Lancer. It's decent. It's a very average mech. The ability itself is pretty good, like an AoE 30 meter radius, EMP, And that alone's pretty solid, but the EMP time is really, really short. It's only 3 seconds, so you don't really have a lot of time to act on it. But the mech speed is really low, and that obviously hurts it a lot. And the mech HP is pretty bad. So yeah, in general, not super great, not super bad. And so, yes, this is going to be my final ranking of everything. I'm not, like, absolutely married to this list, so if you have any thoughts about it, then, you know, feel free to let me know. As always, the link to this list will be in the description if you want to rank them yourself. Anyway, yeah, that will be it for me. Appreciate y'all. Take care.